All right, so I wanted to give a preface up top. We're recording things slightly out of order because I will be gallivanting across Europe for a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
It will be. So yeah, if we are like not referencing whatever the correct news topic of the day is,
It's because we're back in time.
we are, yeah. So we're recording this on July 11th for reference, just in case you're like, what was going on then? In case like, world explodes or something, whatever.
Yeah, shit really pops off, and for some reason we still decide to release this. That's why we don't reference the people's communes of the western coast of the United States. So I don't know, something crazy going on.
Yeah. It would be really funny if we still did release it, because today we're talking about fucking Chicken Run.
It's important, man.
So it'd be like, I know there's some shit popping off, but first off.
Have you watched the 2000 stop motion animated comedy film Chicken Run?
All right, let's get into it.
This was directed by Peter Lord and Nick Park, and it's a children's movie.
It is. Are they the guys that do all of the Wallace and Gromit stuff? I mean, I know the style is the same, but I didn't know if the director was the same.
They're the same guys who did, Wallace and Gromit.
Okay.
I don't, who at least started it. I don't know if they still do or what, but.
I mean, I love stop motion. It was very fun visually to watch.
Yeah, I loved it too.
I like, even in the beginning, like she's using like a little spoon to dig out under the fence. I was like, that's adorable.
And the dirt was just so like blobby. So let's get into it. It's just short enough to do scene by scene, right?
Yeah.
We're first introduced to Tweety's farm, and it's driven home. It's bleak. There are barbed wire fences. This crazy farmer guy is like patrolling the perimeter like a concentration camp guard. The rows and rows of coops are just like, I don't know if they were more likely going for like a concentration camp vibe or like, some sort of authoritarian look like that. But it also looks kind of like just rows and rows of suburbia or something,
Yeah. I got more prison vibe, I guess, than anything.
Yeah, well, some people would say same thing. And so I guess they open first with like attempted escapes, right?
We're introduced to Ginger. She's very cute. Love her little hat. And she leads various failed escape attempts from the farm. So digging under the fence and...
that's the first one.
That's the first one. What else? They do all kinds of crazy shit. Oh, they like stack up like a person and try to get by the dogs. Just some cartoony shit.
Yeah. But I like that, this guy, Mr. Tweety, drives home very early on, that he's so hyper vigilant and everything, like, you can't escape. No chicken escapes from Tweety's farm. And so we're intentionally looking at it through a communist lens. You have to do that because it's not, it is a little overtly, I would argue, later, but to get the whole, to get messages from everything. This is like the capitalist countries, how even Margaret Thatcher back in the day said there is no alternative.
I didn't know that was a Thatcher.
Yeah, that's a baddie from a baddie.
Yeah, that's a rough quote. If you find yourself saying things like there is no alternative, like, ooh.
You're like the Borg.
Yeah, that is literally a Borg thing to say.
So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool in that it was terrible. But but they can't let you, they can't let you go. They need these chickens to make a profit.
Yeah, and I also liked how Mr. Tweety was like, I mean, clearly not smart and just at the beck and call of Mrs. Tweety. Like, I mean, he's the cops. Like, he works for the main capitalist.
Yeah. And I also thought it was funny, too, it's like later in the movie that I realized that he's not like an employee of hers. Like,
no, they're married.
Yeah. But the first time they interact, it just seems like he's a worker there or something.
I thought so, too.
And then later it's like, oh, she's Mrs. Tweety. Oh, shit.
She's just terrible.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's I read into that as the commodification of all family relations under capitalism.
Oh, okay. I read it more as capitalism and the police state are like inherently intertwined.
It's like a familial relationship there.
It's a dark marriage.
Oh, I like that too. That's good.
Guys, we're really going to be playing with metaphor today.
Yeah, also you'll get my tired voice. I'm pretty tired today.
Oh, what happened?
Didn't sleep well or something. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
one note that I made is that Tweety's farm is actually pretty luxe compared to like factory farms.
Oh, to actual farms? Yeah, if they had really wanted to make this like a horror movie, they could have just done a real chicken
Just
egg
a documentary. Yeah, those are horror movies. But I mean, they each, they don't each have their own coop, but like they're spread out. It's pretty good.
They have room to maneuver their wings, and they have like areas to walk in. That is more than most egg hens get in the United States, at least.
They also get they get killed, but they get humanely killed instead of like just having their food cut off.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So it could be worse, but that's not to say it's like
It's not great.
Yeah. So, we said Ginger keeps getting exiled, basically. She keeps getting thrown in solitary, really. It's like she's a Bolshevik leader or whatever, repeatedly getting exiled for revolutionary activities.
Just going to Siberia over and over again.
Yeah, except I guess she doesn't really escape that. She just gets let out.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised they like did it that many times. I don't know.
I mean, I guess she was also laying eggs.
Yeah, you have to assume she had to be productive in some way, or they wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah, because you see Edwina gets the chopping block for not producing.
Oh, and I liked this moment where Ginger is talking to another chicken. Is like, why didn't she tell us she didn't lay eggs? I would have given her some. And like,
yeah,
they are collective about their eggs.
Yeah, they know how to work the system, how to like work in solidarity with each other.
They're doing mutual aid through eggs.
And maybe that's enough to survive like that. So that's the survival strategies, right? It's not enough to really save them. They'll need more than that, but it's important. Yeah,
and I think it is also important for like their overall goal too, because like, so after Edwina is killed, Ginger is talking to them about how like they want to escape, and like I think in order to believe in like a society where they can live together, they have to know that they'll take care of each other.
Okay, so that's the idea of like prefiguring what your future society is going to be like in the now. That's one of the ideas of mutual aid, is like you are kind of
you're modeling
showing people. Yeah. You're modeling what's going to happen in the future.
Exactly. And okay, and this leads to like probably my favorite quote in the movie is, why do I keep forgetting her fucking name?
Ginger.
I keep wanting to say like Gwen or something. I don't know. Ginger says the fences aren't just around the farms. They're up here in your head. And I love that.
Oh, yeah. That was great. It's not 100% true, because the fences are also in the world,
Yeah, I mean, there's physical obstacles. Like there's the dogs that patrol, there's the farmer that patrols, there is the fence. Like there are real things in the way. And to extend the metaphor to the real world, like we have physical obstacles too. Like there's the police, you can't just stop paying rent, you'll get kicked out, like stuff like that.
Right. Or the military, if you're doing a revolution or whatever,
Definitely.
The FBI, the CIA, hey, Dave and Dan.
What's up, boys?
But I think you're right that it's such a good quote, because there is definitely a part of that is that we limit ourselves, in terms of what we think is possible.
Yeah, because immediately, when she talks about escaping and going to live like on a grassy hill, they start asking, who's going to feed us? Where's the farm? Where's the farmer? Like they are literally bred to only be in this area. Like they don't know what being wild and being like a normal, I guess, a free chicken. I guess that was a thing back in the day.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah.
There had to have been. But like they are literally bred to only know this life. And so they immediately start questioning, like, how will this work?
Mm-hmm. And that's when Ginger gives the rousing speech. It's like old Major's speech in the first part of Animal Farm,
Yeah.
Where he's like, hey, it's going to be great. All the animals will work together and everything. Right? It's like we'll feed ourselves. There's no farm. There's no farmer. No dogs. No fences.
That sounds great.
Yeah, that would be good. No boss, no cops, no borders or countries, no governments. Just like, freedom. I'm a freedom guy, so security or being provided for, or providing for yourself, I guess.
Definitely. And like, I do think the overall, if we're making the metaphor, I think it's pretty strong. Like, because if you look at the farm setup, they are producing labor through eggs until they no longer can produce labor, and then they are killed.
Yeah. And in the small scale sense, that's more or less what we go through, even in the kind of lux conditions of the imperial core countries, right? Like, we go through that of like, our version is you work, you produce profit for your boss. And when you don't, you're not killed, but you are relegated to like the threat of starvation, of homelessness, like you're, because you're fired.
Yeah. It's an indirect violence, but it is absolutely violence all the same. And I would argue there's more direct violence if you're working in like a physically demanding job. You're fucking doing extractive work, you're doing manual labor of some kind. Like, that will literally kill you.
Yeah. And then if you zoom out, like big picture wise, we are all facing the chopping block in the sense of, these corporations focusing on short-term profits, these capitalists focusing on just making their quarterly profit reports or whatever at the expense of like killing us all with the climate.
Oh yeah. Didn't expect Chicken Run to give me an existential crisis this early in the day, but that's fine.
Well, there was some comic relief through it too.
For sure.
So Babs was the name of the
dumb chicken.
The dumb chicken, yeah.
I liked Babs. I like Babs because we have bastardized like pet names for each other so much that now we call each other Babs. It came from like babe and baby, and it's to the point where we do it in front of other people, and they're like, "Is somebody here named Barbara? Like, what is happening?"
Oh, Babs is short for Barbara.
Babs is short for Barbara.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Did not know. Yeah, no, okay, so she's comic relief, right? She's just
yes.
She's like, oh, are you going on holiday or whatever? For the analogy, she is the mystified, non-class conscious proletarian.
Oh, I could see that, yeah.
She doesn't get it. She's just like going about her life, maybe she's one of those people who's not into politics or what have you.
Yeah, I could see that. She is very just willing to go along with whatever else is happening around her. Like, pretty much the whole film, she is just kind of not all there.
Yeah. So yeah, they're like, let's organize, let's continue to try to escape, all of us together. I like there's one chicken who was like, no, let's not escape. Why don't we just work more and make sure we produce enough eggs,
Yeah, it's like, because we're focusing so hard on escaping, we're not producing enough eggs.
That's the problem, if we would just accept our lot in life and produce, and, eventually we'll live a nice long life and then eventually be executed. That'll be great. It's a good life. One of them's like, it's a living.
It's a living. I mean, that absolutely tracks with so many people are bought into this system of, well, I'll just work really hard and I'll find a way out of it. Like, not out of it even. I'll find a way to survive, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, like, if you look at actual chickens and, metaphorically actual people, eventually you're going to reach a point where you can't produce. Like, chickens will get to that point.
And our society is capitalism is increasingly like callous toward people. There's less and less of a social agreement to like provide for people once they're not productive, and by the time that you or I get to retirement, it's gonna be like completely on ourselves. Like, whatever we manage to squirrel away is all we're gonna have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's it.
Oof.
And so many people don't have the luxury of putting away money like that.
Yep.
And also, I just a little like retirement rant here. Think that it is astounding how accustomed we have become to just the idea of that, of like working our entire lives for somebody, for a variety of people, but for a class, right? Just to enjoy, making all these sacrifices just to enjoy like those last years without work, Like, it's crazy.
And you hear so many stories of people who like worked their whole lives and then they finally retire. They're like too physically unwell to like go do the things they wanted to do. And like, it's really tragic that we can't like weave in more of those enjoyable moments throughout our lives.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, so they had this meeting to talk about, planning the next thing, right? Figuring out how to fly out of there. Oh, because they were like going to launch like with a catapult or something.
Yeah,
and they
that's
were like,
right.
well, we got to figure something else out, I guess, or work on it some. But I like that they had the meeting. This may have been coincidental in Coop 17.
Okay, I was wondering that too.
Coop 17, 1917, not a bad year.
Yeah, it's one of my faves.
Maybe completely coincidental,
It
but
could be, but I really hope it's not because I also noticed that.
all right. And then comes flying in our second main protagonist, Rocky.
Okay, I immediately did not trust this man, and then I did like the little X-ray feature, voiced by Mel Gibson, so I was correct.
Yeah. Problematic, to say the least. And Rocky was himself problematic. He was an American, first of all.
First of all, oh, the worst.
But he was also like very American. He was
really
like,
was.
I'm a Rhode Island, whatever. He was the hot one. Everyone wanted him. Mm-hmm. But he was like just such an individualist. He was just like, I'm only out for myself, And he was totally sexist.
Yeah, super sexist. Could not learn anyone's name. So yeah, they come up with the plan that Rocky, because Ginger saw him like flying in, really gliding, sailing, whatever, shooting in through the sky.
Hurtling, yeah.
She thinks that he can teach them to fly, and he agrees under duress because like the circus truck pulls up and is looking for him, and she threatens to like, call them over to find him.
Yeah. He's basically saying like, this revolution idea of yours is impossible. It can't work. I don't want it. And she's like, well, she's like, I'm just going to rat you out. Then.
She starts doing it. She starts squawking. She's great.
And so he had to agree. I think he also had that like poster. This was also another reason why she thought he could fly, aside from seeing it. But like he had this poster of like Rocky the Flying Rooster.
Yeah.
And so he starts this kind of like training program or whatever. It's like boot camp.
This nonsense calisthenics.
Yeah. It's just having them work out, get buff, eat raw meat, get buff.
God, I hope they don't eat raw meat. That can't be good for chickens.
I don't know I guess chickens just eat feet. I mean, they'll eat some like grubs and
They eat
stuff
bugs,
in the wild
that's
or
right,
whatever.
yeah.
They'll just eat bugs and stuff. So I guess that's raw meat.
That's
in
raw.
A way. All right. So one thing I was thinking here, because Rocky like takes up this leadership role, basically, just appoints himself in charge of the program, the training program, which I mean, he knows how to like fly theoretically, and he's teaching them to do that. But he also like gets all these perks and shit.
Like one of his first lines when he's like about to teach them stuff is like, okay, well, to fly, you have to work as a team, and to work as a team, you all have to listen to me. And Ginger's like, what?
Yeah. So he's co-opting this movement, kind of like I was thinking, okay, what could he
represent?
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe the American, like, okay, if you think about like the American proletariat versus like the global. So he's exploited still. He's running from the circus. So he still faced an exploitation of a sort, but maybe not as bad. He's very individualistic, He fancies himself in charge of the revolution. He still demands like luxury, like they put him up in like a hot tub or something. He sees like, I'm the leader. I will direct all this stuff, but he doesn't actually do any of the training with them. I don't know. It doesn't 100% fit, but it's like compared to like the global South, for example, like it's a privileged position that he's in.
Oh, okay. So you're saying in general, he's just the American proletariat?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. I could see that.
Or he could just be like a liberal. Like he doesn't have to be, like not really even, he doesn't really even believe in the project. He just wants to use it.
Yeah, I almost think of it more like he's maybe not like a liberal because he's not talking enough about like about representation and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, there is something about co-opting the movement that I think that kind of tracks.
Or he's just like a politician, like a grifter. He's doing a grift.
It's a
Well, he
grift
is,
of some.
I
I
mean.
mean, he literally is. But it's not even because he is telling them, "Oh, this is going to work." Because unfortunately, our politicians are going to say that would never work. I'm not even
Yeah,
going to
that's
say
true.
the word socialism. That is evil. So it's almost like he's like someone who uses the language of the movement to further their own position. Maybe he's a podcaster.
He's a podcaster. There we are. That's why you didn't trust him.
That's why I didn't trust him. They're fucking reprobates.
He's using the movement, talking about it, but not doing it.
A lot of talk, no action. And we all know we get tons of perks. One time I had a listener ask how much we make per YouTube view. And I was like, that's cute. You think we make money off of this?
Yeah, I don't know if they allow you to monetize videos that have a hammer and sickle, because that's like as bad as a swastika or something.
Obviously, it's exactly the same thing.
I literally don't know their policies, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. If anything, we would be definitely shadow banned.
Yeah, which I don't know what that is either, but yeah.
I would wager a guess that our Instagram is lightly shadow banned, based on how few likes we get. So, share our shit, please.
Does that just mean the algorithm doesn't like you?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Then we get a little bit back to the Tweeties.
I love this scene where she's like, we're not making, what does she say? She says like an exact line. It's like, I want to increase my profits. And then she sees a brochure that says how to increase your profits.
Yeah.
I love that that feels like a very particularly British humor to me. Like, I feel like I've seen that.
To say something directly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate, but I laughed out loud at that part.
Yeah, that was funny. The little brochure. I'm rich. She gets this idea. Mrs. Tweedy gets this idea that instead of doing the chicken stuff, the egg farmer stuff, they're going to make meat pies out of the chickens.
Yes. This, I think, is a metaphor for mechanization, automation.
I think partially. It's automation or algorithmic capitalism, or, I mean, it's going to just kill all the workers for profit. So maybe it's like a necro-capitalism.
Ooh.
This idea that it's just...
That's the worst D&D class.
necro-capitalist.
I would kick them out of my party.
For sure. Not welcome. No, but like it profits off of death.
It's healthcare.
Instead of, Yeah. And instead of the old system, which I mean still had healthcare, so it still did that, but like the older, phased out system now of under threat of revolutionary action, under threat of like being embarrassed that the Soviets were providing better, for their people, or that Cuba was providing better for their people. America had this like compulsion to say, well, okay, I guess we have to provide somewhat for people so that they don't kill us. There was that sort of agreement that I think is increasingly going away, and it becomes more profitable for them to get the meat pie machine out.
I also saw the immediate connection between like raw goods versus refined goods. Like, I wonder if there's something there as well. Like you get paid more if it's a finished product,
Yeah. That makes sense too. I thought Mr. Tweedy here in this scene was sort of like the rear guard, or the, establishment, the old fashioned one who was like, well, we've always done it this way, Mm-hmm. Then, and then Mr. Tweedy is like, yes, okay, fine, but we have this relentless drive to make more profit. A reminder that capitalism is just mechanically going to do this. It's not, oh, we need nicer guys or anything like that. Like, oh, how could they be this mean? It's just that they like have economic laws that they have to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And like, obviously the movie like makes her the overt villain. I think it'd be kind of a more interesting movie if the farmer was like completely normally characterized, like just totally benign in their personality, but still did these things.
Yeah, like it would be funny. You could do like you said, a nice guy farmer, right? But like, it wouldn't be funny. It would just be sad, I guess, because they would be going like talking at the kitchen table, like, oh, there's more bills, or oh, we're getting behind, and they have to come up with these schemes of, oh, I guess we'll have to resort to the meat pie even though we don't want to. That would just be sad, I guess.
I guess, yeah, because then I bet, like, story-wise, you'd have the chickens, like, try to help the farmer or something. Like, yeah, no, I don't want that.
Not really. I mean, they're still trying to fight for their survival, you know, and they still get killed if they don't produce the eggs. Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be good for a children's movie.
It would not, no.
But this is funnier.
Yeah, definitely.
I also like that at some point in their conversation here, or maybe it was earlier, they have, you know, Mr. Tweety keeps suspecting that the chickens are up to shit, you know?
Yeah, that was great.
Mrs. Tweety's like, no, like they cannot do that. Like they don't have the capability of it. They cannot organize. I think she even says it like,
Yeah, the chickens aren't organized. They use the word organized, which makes me like,
yeah,
that's very specific.
that's, I mean, they emphasize that like that is the key component, the key thing that gives them the capability of escaping.
I wonder if how much of that is just like British dialect or something, because I to me that smacks of labor, obviously, and that kind of agitation.
Britain has a very strong labor movement, labor history, and there were even, well, I don't know if they'll still be doing this by this point, but they're doing a big strike in Britain right now.
Ooh,
and the rail unions.
lovely. Yeah, because I mean, they could have used another word, is what I'm saying. Like they could have been like, oh, they're plotting, or they're trying to escape, or something. But organized is such a specific term, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean it's totally like because it's leftist in that way, but it's broad. Anarchists want to organize, you know. Marxist-Leninists want to organize. You know, everybody on the left or anarcho-syndicalists want to organize. Like, you know, that covers all of us.
For sure.
So they keep working on the program, right? They're still trying to train to fly. Ginger keeps like pressuring Rocky, like, come on, we need to learn this yesterday.
Like we're out of time.
Yeah, they don't have time. I was like, dude, neither do we. You know?
Nope.
we are also out of time.
Uh-huh.
We get to the dramatic scene with Babs, who thinks that she's about to get executed.
Yes. Oh, I love this scene. But instead they measure her tummy and say, okay, fatten up the rest of them. I want them all as big as this one. And they give them double rations.
Everybody's like, hell yeah.
Yes. They all go eating, and Ginger's the one that figures it out. She goes, wait a minute, they're fattening us up for that machine. And I think this is a particularly juicy part of the metaphor. Like they're giving us a treat.
Yeah. The capitalists never do anything for your benefit. They might do things that benefit you, but it's not because it benefits you that they're doing it. Like that's never their reason, you know?
Definitely.
Like even concessions to the working class, that's the reason they're doing that is like to stave off revolution, or like we said, to look better on the international stage so that you don't think anything else is an alternative. You know, that there's never a big meeting of the capitalists where they're like, what can we do to like be nice to our workers? Because they're like great, you know?
Yeah. That's not a thing. Like this is their meager concession. It's like, well, you know, at least while you're here, you get, you know, more streaming channels, or
Yeah.
you know, the concessions are getting smaller and smaller. Like honestly, like if we have any people on the right listening to this who are strategizing, I don't know what you're doing here, but if you're listening, don't listen to this next part. I think a good strat for them would be to legalize weed.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty chill and good treat that would, like, I think make a lot of people happy in the short term.
Oh yeah, that'd be an electoral victory. And, you know, your base would be like, whatever, I don't like that, but that's fine. They destroyed Roe v. Wade, so lifetime voters, you know.
Yeah, you're set.
I guess be suspicious of that. Like whenever in the future when they roll out, you know, augmented reality or VR, like government issued headsets, it's probably so that they can like keep you in a place, you know, like while they continue the death march.
They're not doing it to be nice. They're literally doing it to bolster their profits in the future. So like the VR example, they're going to monetize the shit out of that at some point. Yeah.
So even while they like have you cooped up or whatever doing that, they're also going to be making money off of you, and it keeps you from going out and organizing, you know? So this brings us to an interesting scene and a kind of discussion I wanted to have. where Ginger, she just realized what's happening, and she tells everybody. She's like, they're going to kill us. And then Rocky is like, whoa, hey, hold on. If you want to motivate someone, don't mention death. And I was like, is this true? I get me, because if so, we're really bad at that. We're very bad at motivating people. It's in every episode that we're like, capitalism is trying to kill us. So what do you think?
I think it's a balance. Classic Gemini answer here. I think there has to be a little bit of fear to get you moving, but I think you also have to have hope to keep moving, because I there's a lot of discourse online about this right now, which gross, don't go there. But people saying oh, is it, it's also really bad to be a doomer, you can't just that's what they want us to do is just totally give up. And it's it is an understandable reaction, but I don't know how I feel about pathologizing it and saying oh, this means you're bad,
I don't know. I think that to me it helps understand the stakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's, there's a quote by Huey Newton of the Black Panthers who says the first lesson a revolutionary must learn is that he is a doomed man. Unless he understands this, he does not grasp the essential meaning of his life. And it kind of this idea of that freeing you to act with understanding the stakes, kind of you
got nothing to lose.
Yeah, if you don't do something, then it's death for you, or meaninglessness.
Yeah,
whatever that is in your circumstance. They're probably death for us because of the climate, but this is a children's movie. They don't know what, that they don't accurately predict everything. Sure. But it does have a depressing effect on the chickens. They're all laying around and I think maybe for a lot of people it does have that demotivating effect. And
they stop eating too, which was interesting. I'm like, man, I'd be eating if I knew I was going to die. But yeah, I do think it can be. I think for me the word is overwhelming and existential and just well, what the fuck am I supposed to do about it? You feel very individual and very small.
Yeah, that makes sense. So without pairing it with that organization antidote, then it's really bad to be black-pilled about things, right? I
mean, if you think about kind of the solution, they have a party. And that you might say is oh, well, that's very frivolous. We should be focusing on other things. But what it does do is bring everybody together, and say, oh, this is what we're fighting for is to have this community together.
Yeah, yeah. And we are not cold, rational. We're humanists,
I'm the least rational.
Yeah, I think I lean more on the scientific elements of Marxism and stuff. But but at the same time, Marxism is not, and communism, anarchism, whatever your flavor, is not cold and rational only. It's humanist. It is seeking what's best for people, and dancing and everything, having fun is a big part of that. Emma Goldman had a famous quote. A revolution without dancing is not worth having.
That is great. That's the best possible version of that. What is it? A meeting. What is it? It's something about cake.
Let them eat cake.
No. It's a gathering without cake is just a meeting or something like that.
Oh. Yeah. Or a party without a cake.
A party. Yeah, maybe that's it. I like hers better though.
Yeah, no, that's what came to mind. It's not a direct quote really. That's what it gets distilled down to in popular usage. But it's from a book that she wrote where she was dancing at a party, and some of her activist friends were
oh gosh, how can you be dancing?
You're dancing? You should be more serious or more dedicated.
Oh my God.
Revolutionary. And she was like, fuck off. No. I like your take on that as re-inspiring that sense of community. Yeah.
You can't afford to be doomer all the time. You also have to say look at what we're fighting for. Look at what we could have.
Yeah, and not in a liberal self-care idea sort of thing, which take care of yourself. That's not what we're saying, but
because that's individualized.
Exactly. Yeah. Individualized. That's just hey, go stay in your room and do things for you. But we're talking not necessarily socially, get together or whatever, but realize your potential, your a sense of hope in the power you have with other people.
Yeah.
All right. And then it's at this party, and it's just a little fun dance party little thing.
It's very
it's
silly.
at this party that Rocky loses his sling. It's like, oh, your arm's better. You can fly now.
Okay, I have a question. The rats, who do you think they are? Because they're really funny. But
Yes, they have the best puns.
absolutely the best puns. I loved it. But who are they? So they're profiting off the revolution, I guess. They are their suppliers, but they demand payment. But they also go with them in the end, which I was surprised by.
I had a tough time too. At first I was like, well, they're doing crimes, kind of like they're stealing shit. It's just like, well, maybe they're like the Stalin bank robbers, you know? But like you said, they are profiting off of it too. Or they're like doing it to buy eggs. So they're getting like they're paid off. They don't care about them escaping, really. They would be fine. They wouldn't be killed.
Yeah, and that's the weird part. Like that's when I was so surprised to see them in the plane at the end. I was like, "Oh, you guys came. Okay." Like I thought you'd be fine chilling at the farm.
Yeah, it's weird. But I guess they wanted a supply of eggs still, which they would probably still end up with some eggs, you know.
I guess so. I don't know if the chickens are okay with that. I was wondering that too at the very end. Like, are they just going to do they hatch every egg now? It's going to be a lot of chickens.
Yeah, that would probably be too many.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural part of the chicken that they just lay eggs even when they're not. So
some of them would still be unfertilized.
yeah, and they could just be like, hey, you can have that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, they might not fit into this little
They're just
story.
fun.
They're fun.
funny.
I like them.
No communist content from them.
Sorry, rats.
Yeah. Not everything is a metaphor, but the Coop being Coop 17 is definitely.
That one is absolutely.
All right. They get the machine up and running because like it was delivered, you know, big, huge truck, and they had to build it. And it was Mr. Tweedy trying to figure it out. So it took a while, but meanwhile, they're able to develop the entire revolutionary potential of the working class in the meantime. So it took a while, but
It took like 100 years.
yeah. Whoa. So maybe it's like it's just industrialization. Like,
Oh.
like the slow process of, you know, because I mean, since Marx's time and even before that, you know, he goes through the economic history of the workers getting increasingly ground up in the machine, you know, but it takes a long time for it to get to the terminal stage where it's actually just going to kill everyone on the planet.
Okay. I see that because you could argue that like pre-industrialization would be before they were like enclosed as much. They had grass to eat, stuff like that. So they have already been industrialized a little bit. Like it's an operation.
Yeah.
But this is the next level of when it's so mechanized that it's like pushing out the workers.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And Mr. Tweedy even references those earlier times because he's like, oh, well, my father was an egg farmer and his father and all that. It's like they've been doing this. There have been bosses of some sort, earlier stages of history for so long, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're reading way into that.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
I'm gonna just assume Wallace and Gromit are secretly communists. Like, yeah,
Yes, definitely.
definitely.
Oh, yeah, they get the machine up and running, and they need to test it.
Of course, they get Ginger, the troublemaker.
Mr. Tweedy's like, I know just the one. So he goes and gets Ginger, hauls her away to the machine.
Oh,
And Rocky goes in to save her. And they kind of, you know, they do a little scene where they're in the machine sort of thing and trying to escape.
here's the thing. It gave me some Luddites vibes.
Ooh, they were busting up the machine.
Yeah, I mean, they did it in this case specifically to get out of it. But even afterwards, they're still like stealing parts and shit from the machine. I thought that was, I don't know, kind of reminded me of that whole thing.
And it's a good callback too, because if you think about the Luddites, they would say, we're not just breaking this machine to break it, or we don't believe in it, or whatever. It's we're trying to escape too. We're trying to like not have this machine kill us by driving us out of a job and by, you know, making our families starve.
Yeah, we are being exploited by this machine, and so we have to destroy it.
So just as much as the chickens trying to escape with their lives from this machine and destroying it, that the Luddites were doing the same. Point is, Luddites are cool. Chickens are cool.
I'm a fan of both.
machines can be cool. Like,
Okay, I think that still works because they end up stealing machine parts for their eventual escape. So it's not anti-technology.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But technology in the hands of the capitalists will be destructive to the working class. All right. They escape.
Well, they escape the machine, not the whole farm yet. That's coming.
Yeah, true. They escape and go back to the farm because they want to rescue everybody. Oh, she brings back the label to prove to them that the machine is to kill them. And chickens can read. This is the importance of literacy. That's why
That's true.
every communist every communist government does a big literacy program because they're good.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
gotta have an educated proletariat, or at least literate.
So they do the demonstration, or they're going to, but Rocky is not there.
Rocky fucking bails. Of course he does.
And this is where they find out that Rocky was shot out of a cannon. He was a circus chicken. Which, I mean, they knew he was from the circus or somebody. I guess Ginger may have been the only one to know.
Yeah.
Then they find out, damn, he can't fly. And this failure leads to some intra-class squabbling.
Yes, this was interesting. They start by like yelling at the old man rooster. Who is he supposed to be? I mean, I know he's like military, but he's also on their side, so.
Yeah, I didn't ever come up with a political analysis for him, I don't think. Let me see. I don't have anything. I mean, maybe he's just veterans and their revolutionary potential.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bolsheviks, they were big in the Red Army because of the experience of the war, but hey, maybe there's that.
Maybe.
He's hard to pin down. He's like the rats.
Confusing. Anyway, so
funny.
they start fighting each other, and they get into a big fucking mud fight. And Ginger's like, don't you see, this is what they want us to do, to turn against each other. Which I don't know if the farmer actually gives a shit about that. But, I mean, for the metaphor, works great.
But it kept them from organizing, right? They were just, if they just keep fighting each other, then they'll waste their time until they're hauled off to the machine. If we just yell at each other online about, oh, you're a tanky, or oh, you're an anarchitty, or whatever, like, we're going to just keep doing that until we are boiled.
So I know Anarchitty is with D's, but I did picture it with T's as like a little kitten.
Anarchitty.
Oh,
That's cute.
Okay, that might be a shirt later.
That's a good one.
I'm going to write that down. But yeah, so they stop fighting, and this is when they decide to build a machine, right?
Yeah. Because Ginger sees, for some reason, pays attention to Fowler's pin, his RAF pin, and it's got the wings, and she's like, oh shit, what if we make a plane? And yeah, they get together, they start building it, they're using mass action, they're all pitching in, and they're stealing tools, like you said, from the farmers, from the capitalists. They're stealing their tools and using it to build their plane.
I love that. I guess in our case, that would be using technology that has like capitalist origins and is part of that system, but using it for our own means of communication and means of organizing and means of like getting shit done.
And it's hard to do in some ways if you think about all the surveillance technology and shit.
Oh, you really gotta check your privacy settings.
Yeah, it's just how far can you go with that? And they can, activate shit even when you've turned it off and stuff. So it's like, you got to be careful about how you do that once you get into the real deal of things. While you're just like organizing people, it's not so bad when you're just like starting out. But once you get to the, okay, let's take them down stuff.
Yeah, use with caution.
Then Dave and Dan are going to be called into the scene.
For sure. I also like how during the building process, like different chickens were in charge of different things. They're using like your individual strengths to contribute. Like even Babs, like the dumb chicken, is in charge of like the sewing aspect because she's really good at knitting.
Yeah.
Like there's a place in the revolution for everybody. For
different
every chicken.
Comrades bring different skills. Yeah. No, that was super cool. It's just they're all working together. They're doing this, and I kind of like that they, it's just a children's movie, and it's just like chickens working together or whatever. But like for, I've been saying a little bit recently, like maybe we need some sort of approach that does that of like, hey, we're just all like teaming up, like not saying that it's socialist or communist or anything, it's just people working together.
Yeah.
People might buy into that more because they are brainwashed by Western media.
Yeah. I think especially with time being the issue that it is, it might be a faster route just to say, I don't have time to unbrainwash you from that. So let's just say we're all going to work together for a good world.
Yeah. But you guys listening, you're in on it.
You know what's up.
So we can tell you about it.
So you can go lie to other people.
Yeah.
It's not lying. It's marketing, which is the greatest evil you can do.
But marketing for the people.
Yes. Slightly less evil.
So they're building, and the farmers were building at the same time, and they finally get the machine to work because it's sabotaged basically repeatedly by all the theft. Mr. Tweety comes out to go get the chickens, and he catches them. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, he catches them building in the act, which...
They just all look up like...
Imagine how insane this farmer must feel. Like, what the fuck? These chickens are using human tools.
Well, he had been thinking that he saw that repeatedly, and Mrs. Tweety was like, no, it's all in your head.
Is that just like the hypervigilance of the police state?
Oh, okay. Like, why does he see it?
Why does he see it and the capitalist is just... I mean, we talked about like the capitalist is just unwilling to believe that they're capable of it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he sees it, I think, is interesting. Like, like it's kind of like the Antifa like scare, like they just assume.
So he's like a reactionary.
Yes. Like he wants to, like, that's why he patrols every night like a fucking nutcase. I did not know farmers patrolled their farms every night. That seems like a lot. My Stardew Valley character goes straight the fuck to sleep.
Yeah, for sure. Like a Gestapo guy or something, but...
And they have those big scary dogs. Like, why do you have like Dobermans? I don't think Dobermans are farm dogs traditionally.
I don't know. I don't know what they're
usually police dogs.
Yeah. Okay. So he is hypervigilant. He's the very far right that's like feels like a victim.
Oh, there's a communist plot happening. Yeah.
And always sees things in terms of this threat that is always there. They're always being attacked, being besieged by the barbarians, us.
Yes.
So yeah, that makes sense. And then Mrs. Tweety is like the cool-headed capitalist that's just in it for the profits and will use the violent right-wing thugs for their purposes, but also doesn't really believe in that, like in the crazy threats and stuff that.
Yeah, she's very comfortable in her position. She doesn't have any sort of faith in the working class. In fact, wants to get rid of them.
Yeah, that's a good... Okay, cool. We sorted that out. That's good.
Okay, so he catches them. And then they just attack him, which I love.
Yes, this is the revolutionary moment. You don't know, no one knows the hour, right? Like, it'll happen at some point. And the point is, if you hadn't prepared for that, then you just get hauled off to the machine and die.
Yeah, because they had to know, okay, we're all going to do this. Everyone's jumping right now. We're all going to jump on this guy. Because if you'd had like that one chicken with the weird buzz cut who was like not on board with it, if her faction had won out, then it wouldn't have worked.
Mm-hmm. They'd just be sitting in their coops. They'd look up and they'd be like, oh no, and they'd just get killed. So that's the importance of preparing, organizing ahead of time so that when
shit pops off,
when the iron is hot, you can strike. You have to be able to actually take power, meaning you have to have like the capability of doing that. You
have to have the numbers and you have to have the resolve. Like all that shit has to
organization,
work.
Everything all tied together. And so boom, they jump. The Ginger Yells attack. They go after Mr. Tweety and they take him down. All of them together, piling on. Think of one chicken jumping on him. How would that be? Or like 5 chickens? Like, okay. But all of them do it.
It's the 100 ducks or one giant duck. It's 100 chickens.
Yeah. All right. And then we have a couple things happen here. One of them is like, what have we done? once they like time up and put them under the thing, they're like, oh no, what do we like? A kind of a moment of squeamishness at like the revolutionary action they've done. Like, have we gone too far, sort of thing, you know? Like a moment where everything could melt away. Like they could be like, oh no, like, and just go back to their coops or something, or stand around and kind of like worry. And we have these too. You know, people will doubt and or say we've got to sit and plan some more, you know, during revolutionary moments. And it's kind of up to like the dedicated organizer, who's Ginger in this case, to be like, no, hey, this is the moment, we are doing this shit.
Yeah, we have to be ready right now. It's happening.
Yeah. Someone else, who's the nerdy one?
Oh, what's her name? She's very Scottish.
Mac,
that's it. That's extremely Scottish.
Yeah. Mac says, wait, hold on. I don't know if like the plane is 100% ready really, but they were just like, we have to do it now, you know? And it's like your organization, your party, whatever you've got is guaranteed not to be 100% where you
There's no
want
such
it
thing.
when the moment happens. Yeah. But you got to do it, you know?
And I feel like it's almost guaranteed to never be at 100, or even like I feel like the margins on that are going to get increasingly smaller because, again, you know, surveillance state, you know.
Yeah.
If you get too organized and too like, if everyone's like really communist or something, then like you're probably going to get broken up by some raids and shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I got a helicopter. I don't know if you can hear that, so I guess they're coming for me.
Dave and Dan got tired of being stuck in traffic.
Go get him.
All right, so they unbox the cool plane that they've all worked real hard together to build.
They made a plane. It's good.
They get in, and Fowler's just sitting there like ready to pedal. And they're like, what the fuck, Fowler? You're supposed to drive this plane.
He's like, oh, chickens don't drive planes. I don't know why you thought that. And I was like, that's a great point.
I love how like ridiculous he thought they were. He's like, are you kidding me? Like, that was the Air Force. Like,
they don't like chickens
I am a
behind
chicken.
complex aircrafts.
And she's like, oh yeah, you're a chicken.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to forget. They're very, you know, humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of human things in this movie, including have teeth and smile. Like, it's very weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
That had to be such a long design discussion of like character design. Like, do they have teeth? Do they have teeth?
Like,
What do we do?
They're just going to have a gaping maw if we don't give them teeth.
We have to do something.
So Fowler's like, I can't do it. Right. And they're like, hey, none of us can do this, actually. Like,
We're not supposed to be doing any of this.
yeah. And, that, you know, so he's like, okay, I'm going to try it. And that's another thing. You know, when that moment happens, you have to have the organization already gone down, right? And once that moment happens, your organization is not going to be up to where you want it to be. You might think it's not capable, but you got to do it anyway. And you yourself
Exactly.
might not be ready. I know I'm going to be scared as fuck.
Oh
if
my
that
gosh, yeah.
happens in my lifetime, you know? But you gotta be Fowler here. You gotta do it anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not necessarily flying the plane, right? That might be your role. Or you might be pedaling, and you might not think, oh, I can't, you know, I'm not up to this, but you got to try, you know, whatever your role is. Like we said, everyone's got their different abilities.
Definitely. Like it is, that moment is thrust upon him.
So he goes up there, he does it. They all pedal together, each according to their ability.
Including Babs, who cannot reach the pedals.
Yeah. And they're going, and then Mr. Tweety fucking comes out and knocks down the ramp.
Oh,
what a douche. They drive around, right? They go, whoop.
yeah. They swerve back around, and this is when Rocky comes back, right?
Yeah, because Ginger goes to get the ramp, but then Mrs. Tweety shows up and starts hacking at her. And then, yeah, Rocky ramps in and saves the day because he saw that meat pie sign and was like, oh man, I'm being an asshole. So he comes back. That doesn't, to me, represent anything, just story, like the plot line.
I think so too. I think they slapped in a fairly big star to the movie. Like I wish like Rocky didn't exist for most of this movie. And also like a weird like romance angle. Like we didn't need it.
Yeah, that was just, you know, storytelling or whatever.
That was movie.
That's fine. But you're right. They probably, like, it would be stronger without him.
I think it would, because it would be like a purely internal movement, and they could have just thought about it by, like, she sees geese fly earlier in the movie, you know, like she could have just thought about it on her own.
Yeah. Because their structure is not like, it's not even that much of a, like a plain, I guess they do figure out like blueprints and shit from Fowler's plane wing thing, like they go in that box.
Yeah.
But it doesn't function like a real plane because it flaps like a bird. So
yeah. And they still could have done that without Rocky, because they would have gotten the pictures from the old guy. So yeah, I don't think Rocky's necessary. Anti-Rocky.
Rocky, we're not on your team, man.
Sorry.
But anyway, he comes in, smacks Mrs. Tweedy in the face, and helps Ginger get the ramp up. And they succeed. The plane flies over the fence. It caught some of the lighting, so Rocky and Ginger are able to get onto that and climb up. Hooray. Everything's great, except Mrs. Tweedy, crazy lady, also clings onto the string of Christmas lights flying through the air.
Flying from chickens in a plane.
Yeah.
Really desperate here. But, I mean, this is when capitalists have their backs against the wall. They'll be desperate, you know? Like, she literally brings out the axe and is ready to murder them all.
Because, I mean, yeah, you're right. They can't take a revolution like that lying down. They won't. You know, they haven't in the past. They will try to strangle it in its cradle. Because she's doomed economically if she doesn't do that, right? Like, it's, again, like, she has to. She's cartoonishly evil and wants to also, but they need workers to exploit. They can't allow them to escape. Like we said earlier, there is no alternative. And this is why, right? We kind of wonder, like, why is the, United States and the Western line countries, like, why are they such assholes to, socialist countries in history and that still continue to exist? And that's why. It's because they cannot allow successful alternatives.
They can't show that that's an option.
Right. And they have to go to war with them. Whether that's an economic war or what have you, just, starving a bunch of people with an embargo and then pointing and saying, like, oh, look, this is what socialism does, like that's why they do that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they have a vested interest in keeping the system the same. And, like, again, like, it's kind of funny to flip it from, like, a humanist perspective of, like, damn, this lady's life is about to get blown up. Like, literally, they blow up her farm. So, yeah.
So, yeah, they engage in the defense of the revolution. Everyone works together to expel the capitalist invaders. Basically, this is Ginger climbing down to cut the line, and then the other guys are helping out. Yeah, the rats are firing off their eggs and crying.
Again, complicated to read these rats. They did, like, exploit it, but then they were willing to give up their loot for the revolution. So, interesting.
Maybe they are the petty bourgeoisie that break off from their class to join in the revolution.
Because they are like little business rats.
Yeah,
they're like little traveling salesmen.
And they're the section that abandons their class and joins in the struggle.
Okay, I can see that. They're also petty because they're small, because they're rats.
There you go. So I like that they're all teaming up to help with that. I do like that here Mrs. Tweedy has like a literal mask off moment, because they fly through her sign and she gets her like nice face on there.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then she tears that off, and behind it she's like doing her evil "I'm about to cut you with an axe" face. So that was just like a nod to the it wasn't intentional, but like, no, to me I was like, oh damn, cartoon. Here's mask off capitalism.
Yeah, I'm a sweet farmer selling pies, and it's, I'm actually exploiting a bunch of things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in the end, the defeat of Mrs. Tweedy comes by her own arm.
I love that. So she tries to hack off, oh my God, Ginger.
You're as bad as
neck.
Rocky.
I know. I'm going to call her Dollface next. I am sexist. Hello, everyone. So yeah, she tries to chop off Ginger's head. Ginger manages to duck, and she has cut the Christmas light line herself.
Capitalism digs its own grave, but does it do it like on its own? No. right? If it did it on its own, it would drag all of us down in, and it may be on the road to doing that, sure. But
I mean, eventually she would have no more chickens left because they all got turned into pies. So
yeah, well, she'd just keep buying chickens, I guess. But
I
like,
guess, yeah.
the only way that she got to that point was by the chickens' mass revolutionary action. And that's the only way we're going to get capitalism to dig their own grave, is by training up, by organizing.
I do like that Ginger was trying to cut it off. It wasn't like, well, this is a kid's movie. We can't try to kill this person.
Oh, yeah.
She was willing to do the revolutionary action of killing the capitalists.
Dude, Ginger is hardcore.
I love her.
Like, she's willing to rat out Rocky to get him hauled away to the circus. She never flinches. She would be, when the reporters come to the chicken commune that they start, she would
Let
be
them
like,
see the
tell them about
hordes."
the terror,
Yeah.
tell them what we did.
She is Chicken Lennon.
Yes.
Oh.
I thought, okay, so Mrs. Tweedy, she falls back and like falls into the machine, and and Mr. Tweedy, like, it's pretty harsh, man. He leaves her there.
He's like, she sucks, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, damn, she's gonna boil, dude. But luckily, she's a cartoon character, so she was fine.
Everything's
I mean, everything exploded, I guess, but she survived
Somehow.
And then we see the chickens.
The chicken commune.
It was great.
Yeah, they have, I love it. They have the little baby chicks, and they're getting their education from Mac. So they're educating the youth,
Yeah.
both in like science, and then you also have old man Fowler telling them about the revolution. So they're getting
Yes.
revolutionary education as well.
It's awesome.
Oh,
It looked great.
it looks pretty rad.
I did, my last note here was that the rats were kind of already scheming to do another chicken farm.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, they used it obviously as a chicken and the egg joke. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. So, like, I guess they would have to contend with that in the future. Like, you have to be always vigilant.
Yes. So this is Maoism. This is, these are capitalist rotors. And the idea, and this is Stalinism or Marxism, Leninism, that Stalin said in that book that he wrote. We had it in the
What
notes.
is to be done? No,
No,
Stalin.
that's
This is
Lenin.
the long course, short course.
Short course.
Long. We thought it was long.
Yeah, it's long to us. Where he said that class struggle doesn't end under socialism, but it intensifies. So this petty bourgeois that temporarily broke off and was willing to, do away with what they had to help in the revolutionary struggle still has their certain class interests that they want to like return to. They want to go back to like when they had more stuff.
Yeah, and like in the movie, if this actually happened, it would be really difficult because these mice did work with them. Like they were there. Like if it weren't for them, like Ginger would have been hacked to death by the farmer on the Christmas lights, and they got supplies for them. Like, I mean, the supplies were from payment, but still, like it would be hard to turn on those rats, I bet.
Yeah, and it's not, what would you do? You would just be like, hey guys, don't do that. Like, we won't let you take a chicken egg and you don't have to throw the rats off the island or kill them or anything. You just like, hey, don't. You can't do that.
I mean, I think the solution is you give them those unfertilized eggs of like, well, we're not going to eat our own eggs because that's pretty crazy. So like, you can eat these. So I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, but that's the kind of crazy interpretation of them. But it was just a chicken and an egg joke.
yeah, it really was just a setup for that. I mean, this whole thing, we're really, really stretching metaphors here. But I will say this was requested by like multiple listeners, at least two, I think.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just us that saw this.
Okay, good. I'd never thought of it this way, really, but it was great. I love that interpretation of it. I'm sticking with it. Always remember Coop 17 and organization. They're throwing those hints out there.
I think so. I think they are okay with that. Also, a lot of Star Trek references in the flying scene, which I enjoyed.
What did they reference? I missed them.
They told the Scottish chicken to give it everything. Like she was like, "I'm getting everything I've got, Captain." And And then whenever the farmer, Mrs. Tweedy, grabbed onto the lights, they said, "We have a Klingon."
Oh, I did hear that one. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a Star Trek nerd, so I liked it.
Yeah, I did notice that one. So my rating of this, 5 out of 5 stars. Chef's kiss emoji.
Wow.
Loved it.
I would give it 4 out of 5. My issue is Rocky. I did not like him or his storyline. I don't like that he ended up with Ginger. She deserves better.
Yeah, Rocky was not cool.
They didn't need him.
I didn't factor that in. I was annoyed with him as a character, but at first didn't see I was like, well, I mean, he introduced them to this, but you're right that they could have thought of it on their own.
Yeah. I just don't think it was necessary. But other than that, yeah, I liked it. I love the metaphor. It's also just very beautifully made. I mean, it's just masterful in stop motion. So I really enjoy that kind of shit.
So I think maybe though Rocky is preventing it from being too cool of a movie to be made. Like Rocky gives that traditional storytelling of here's a hero. He comes in and does a thing and has an arc or whatever.
Here's the twist. Here's the romance. Yeah.
Whereas otherwise it's for us, too cool of a story in that it's damn, these chickens just get together and fucking overthrow the bosses and get out,
Yeah, you might be right on that. They might have had to, maybe not intentionally. I don't think they were sitting there this movie's too communist.
Yeah.
But they might have said okay, we need a boy hero in here. We need something,
Yeah.
Interesting. Also, I've really laughed at the point where he and Ginger kissed because they did it from the back. So I'm like, yeah, you didn't want to figure out how those beaks are going to kiss, did you?
Yeah, that was too complicated.
Because their beaks are above their mouths. It's very confusing, anatomically speaking.
Yeah, no idea what they do there.
No, that would be a nightmare. I was like, I get you. I would have done that too.
Yeah, but I'm going to keep my 5-star rating.
Go for it.
It was funny. I mean, it was a kid's movie, but
it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. And all the messages that we talked about, they're some of them were stretches, I think, but I think that the core of the movie still maintained that organization bit. That was definitely there.
Yes, I agree. The scene that got it for me was Mrs. Tweedy saying I need more profits. She is not satisfied with what she has,
Yeah.
And again, Ginger's speech when she says,
what can we have? She spells the dream out to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was
definitely.
Like I said, that was Old Major at the beginning. It's like Animal Farm, but good.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
it's Animal Farm, but not written by an anti-communist,
Yeah, I misremembered what this movie was about, and I was like, are they going to take over the farm? And I was like, no, they're just going to escape. But that would have also been interesting.
So yeah, 5 out of 5 would watch again. Yeah,
I mean, I'm quite impressed. Did not expect this much content, honestly, from a children's movie from 2000.
Yeah. So thank you to the listeners who suggested that.
Absolutely.
We want to call it there?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, a shorty.
We've had some long boys lately, so that's
good. Yeah, give you guys a break.
Yeah, take it easy this week. I probably will also be taking it easy this week. Okay, next week, which we will be doing a big one, right?
Oh, yeah, next week we're going to be talking about the German Democratic Republic, popularly known as East Germany.
Got any juicy preview bits? Fun facts?
Zero.
You haven't started?
I've read some, but I don't have anything cool.
Okay. It's all going to be really boring is what you're telling their listeners. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Tune in for as dry as possible.
Oh, yeah.
East German content.
I mean, I can't think of a better advertisement than that.
All right, yeah, but it'll be good.
All right, dude. Well, I will talk to you next week.
All right, see ya.
Bye. Hey there, comrades. Just jumping in to remind you of all of our social media. We are on Twitter at teachcommunism, Instagram at teachmecommunism. You can shoot us an email. That's teachmecommunism@gmail.com. Any of those places are good to send us an episode suggestion or a question, anything you think would be useful feedback for us, or just your admiration. If you want to admire us in a public manner, and you should, you can go to Apple Podcasts to give us a review. It is the best way to help people find the show. Love when people rate and review us. Please do both. We are also on YouTube, if that's how you prefer to listen to podcasts, or if you know someone that's the only way they'll listen to podcasts, send them to our page. And we have a Patreon. For $5 a month, you get access to our notes for each week's episode, including the backlog of notes, which is a very handy resource for up-and-coming commies. And at the end of the year, all of the funds from Patreon will be given to local mutual aid in the DFW area. So, ain't going to line our pockets. Finally, we have merch. Check us out at TeePublic. You can find shirts and I believe also stickers and magnets and all kinds of fun stuff with catchphrases from the show or episode art, stuff like that. The link to that store is in the show notes, so check that out. Okay, that's all the internet. Join us next time for another episode of Teach Me Communism, where the class struggle is always in session. Bye, y'all.